My name is Jeff Hickey. I'm one of the regional tech guys that are trying to help sort things out and keep us educated and make sure that we're getting the most out of all of our technology. And so one of the things that Seth and I have been working on a lot is how do we create some training materials here and sessions on a regular basis, so we're helping everybody keep moving things forward. So onward, upward, forward as the backdrop shows. So really, there you go. So today is really going to be talking about getting started and rather timely with the coronavirus quarantines going on around the country. How do we make use of online video capabilities and conference calling and things of that nature? So how do we work more virtually? And so that's really what we're going to start about today. We're going to kind of tag team on this a little bit, talk about running our businesses using Command and making sure we're getting the most out of the tools that we have available. We're also then going to talk specifically about Zoom and the online video conferencing. We kind of look at Zoom as being our best practice for video conferencing, but there are a few other tools that I'm going to introduce to everybody that if you want one-on-one capabilities or a cheap solution or something, we have a couple options for you there as well. And then we're going to wrap up with what do we need to do to get set up to use this. And so then we'll talk to you about our profiles and IDs and passwords and things of that nature necessary to make it work for us. So Seth, do you want to start with doing our business, or we want to jump right into the tech on the Zoom stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. So we titled this No Excuses, Working Remotely. And there's three major excuses that we want to tackle today and really dismantle those. The first one being, if you're working at home, that you've got an issue with maybe the computer that you're using, or you're used to having multiple screens, or used to be in a class in person. So the very first thing we want to look at is how can you use your one laptop or your one iPad Pro or your Mac, but whatever the case you've got, how do you use that best? So want to look at really just one really majorly simple thing. First, I want to say, if you have a TV in your home and the ability to connect an HDMI to your laptop, that's probably the first thing you do if you don't have an extra computer monitor. So just grab an HDMI cable, plug it in. Your productivity will go through the roof when you have two screens. And especially if we're trying to learn things like technology, if we're trying to better ourselves in Command and use two screens at the same time, watch a video, we're in Zoom constantly, right? And so if we need to have our email up in one window and have Zoom up in another, having two monitors is going to be your best practice. There's no doubt about that. Now, if you don't have two monitors, let's look at what that looks like. Regardless of what kind of computer you have this ability. So if we I'm just grabbing this window here, I'm going to pull it all the way over to the side, and you'll see it's now got a shadow image, a ghost image of half the screen. When I let go of it, it pops up and it asks me which other window do I want. I can select and it pops in. Now I've effectively got two monitors. These are entirely separate, and I can operate in both spaces at once. So I could have Zoom full screen on this side. I could have Command open on this side, or email, or whatever the case is, have multiple tabs. And that way you don't miss a beat. Absolutely don't miss a beat. If you have a Mac, it's just going to be up in the top left-hand corner. I believe it's the green button, and it's going to allow you to go to a grid space, and you can do split screen. So the same function works. You may not be able to drag to the side like you can in Windows, but the Mac will still have the exact same capabilities.
Yeah, I think Seth. Yeah, and on the Mac they call it tiling. So it's a same functionality. They use a couple different names, but it's same exact capabilities.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. It really will allow you to work a bit more efficiently. Now, if we're looking for training, the second excuse that we want to tackle is all my training's been canceled. Well, we know through these Zoom trainings, there are myriad different resources and different trainings. There's all sorts of different virtual meetings we still have going right now. Well, if you want to explore in your own time and really better yourself, KW Connect, we've known this for a while to be a great resource, but there's a relatively new piece. If we go to kwconnect.com and we look at technology, there's a drop down for Command Your Business. Now, I would recommend bookmark this link right here. Just save it to your bookmark bar. Save it to your desktop maybe, whatever the case is. Come back here on a regular basis. This has been put together by KWU. So, and it is a full-fledged, it is it's resources for every aspect of Command. So this does deal directly with Command. It doesn't deal with a whole bunch of outside technology, but if you're looking for training within Command, whether it be best practices, a game plan, or just how to use any individual tool, this is the first place that I would recommend going. As trainers in our market center, our 26 tech ambassadors, they use this as their primary resource when helping others in addressing the problems they have, whatever kind of learning. So it's set up by different topics. You've got Command Your Database. This is going to talk about contacts, tags, smart plans that you can activate. It also goes through neighborhoods. Command Your Transactions. So this looks at the opportunities pipeline. It also looks at DocuSign. Command Your Consumer Experience. This is going to look at setting up your app and your individual agent sites, all the different things you can do around it. It also gets into some of the smart plans that you can run with that as well. Command Your Marketing is really just what it says. So this is creation of marketing pieces as well as using campaigns to leverage those marketing pieces. This will go through how do you create individual landing pages on your website to use for marketing purposes as well. Command Your Day. Now these last two pieces are a bit less robust right now. You can see coming soon. There's not a whole lot about goals, tasks, and reports or the referral business, but just know as this becomes more robust, you'll be able to come here and get training resources on this. But let me just open this up real quick so you can see. This is, I've got 4 daughters at home, all homeschooling, so you'll probably hear them in the background from time to time. You can see it's a ton. So there are 7 large sessions, and within them are videos. A lot of this comes from answers.kw. Some of them are going to be help links from straight out of Command. There are links within here that will take you directly inside Command to Kelly guides as well. So just know they're not going to take you through this without giving you exactly the places to go. There's screenshots, there's video walkthroughs to give you the mindset behind it and a direction for the training. And the videos are largely hosted by Jason Abrams and David Voorhees. So great trainers and highly involved in the technology side and the agent relations side with this as well. That is it for Command Your Business. The third excuse that we want to tackle today is really a handful of them around Zoom, but I think the major one is that people aren't familiar with being face-to-face, or maybe they have challenges with their business because they're not face-to-face. Well, we have the opportunity to leverage virtual meetings in a whole new way, in a world that's starting to accept them much more warmly, especially when they don't have a chance to do it otherwise, right? We may not have a choice to get face-to-face in person, so we can do it on our computers. We can set the example of what that looks like. And Jeff's going to share some best practices here with you in a moment. But guys, my advice to you is if you're going to be in meetings on Zoom, actually turn on your camera, get the video. And we'll have some walkthroughs here in a moment on how to make you more comfortable with being on video. But it's the same. If you went to a meeting, you wouldn't sit behind a wall and talk to somebody from around that wall, right? We want to sit face to face, engage with each other. We need this time more than ever with social distancing. It's important to our mental health. It's important to just general happiness. It is vitally important to business that we get face-to-face meetings, that we get comfortable with these. Jeff, do you want to step in real quick and share some tips about?
Absolutely. So let's see what I've got going on here. All of a sudden, my screen changed immensely. Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit. I'm going to focus a lot on Zoom, and then I'm going to wrap up with some best practices for working virtually, regardless of what the tool is. And then we'll look at a couple other tools that might be available out there. For starters, when we're talking about Zoom, we're really looking at an online collaboration tool that is designed just for this purpose. So it really is something that is actually made for what we're talking about doing here. I'm going to try to pull this up on my screen and see if it'll let me use it and show it at the same time. So bear with. So yeah, and I don't think it's going to. So what I was going to try to do is actually walk you through some of the features on Zoom itself. But let me just highlight a couple things. First of all, Zoom is free for users to join conferences. So if you ever get a conference call invitation from somebody via email to join a Zoom room, you can just click on that and go right in. Nothing else is needed. You can also then download the application and access it, as well as access it from the web, and use a free account. So you can sign up on it and get an account, and you can use a free account. The free account works pretty well. It's a couple of limitations on it. One of the biggest limitations that the free account has that presents some challenges to most of us is a free account for conference calling like we're doing here is only available for a 40-minute session. So that's probably the biggest issue on the free account. So if you're going to be talking to more than 1 or 2 people, and you're like, if you're going to do training, or if you've got multiple people that you're trying to coordinate on a deal, for example, maybe you want to get title and lending and the client together. So anything beyond one-on-one kind of conferencing, you're limited to a 40-minute session. So paid versions allow you to have up to 100 plus people, depending on what size subscription you get, and an unlimited amount of time and capability. So that's really the biggest issue there. For most people, 40 minutes is not a bad deal, and it's something that might very well work. If you have the need for multiple people for longer periods of time, there are a couple other solutions that we'll look at towards the end here that you might want to take a look at. For starters, let's go ahead and jump in here. I want to call your attention to the Zoom tutorial. And I'm going to post these URLs and these documents here in just a little bit, so you can either download them from here or we'll make them available somehow for you, and we'll clarify before the end of the meeting. But they've done a fantastic job at Zoom making their help center very user-friendly. So it's something, I spend a lot of time on a lot of different tools all the time, and this is one that I think they've done a really good job with. So they've interspersed text and links and videos all in one place, much like we've done with our answers.kw.com, really, which helps you get to the information very efficiently, as well as understand what they're trying to show you by not just telling you about it, but also showing you via a video. So the Zoom video tutorial is really impressive, does a great job walking you through all aspects of it. So here you see to join a meeting, schedule a meeting, meeting controls if you're running the meeting, scheduling meeting with Google Calendar, Outlook, etc. So it really kind of walks you through the whole process. Once you get a meeting scheduled, if you've done it through Zoom, it'll show up on your calendar. And then when you're ready to start, you just go to that invitation, you can double click on it and go right into the room. If someone has sent you an invitation via text messaging or via email, again, you can just click on it. One thing to keep in mind, if the link doesn't work, okay, and this happens quite often with some people, Zoom will require one of 2 things and sometimes both. So in Zoom, there is the concept of a room ID, okay? It's usually a 9-digit number, and it's usually always numeric, and that number you have to have in order to get into a Zoom room, okay? Sometimes if meetings are held that are a little bit more sensitive, may have some privacy about them, privacy requirements about them, or may have maybe your leadership in your market center wants to have only a few people on it, they may install a password onto the room. And both of those things are available whenever they send you the link. You'll see a room ID number, again, 9 digits, and then you'll also see, if a password's required, a password that'll be followed right after the room ID number. And password's usually a 4 to 6 numbers, so you'll need that. But for the most part, like this meeting today, we don't have a password on it. So you'll find that most of the things that you're going to want to get into for training and stuff will be just the ID that you'll need. You can operate in Zoom on a web browser without the application. So those of you that don't want to put the app on your desk, and you really just are going to be using it to sit in on some Zoom rooms for some presentations such as training materials, you can access zoom.us.com or zoom.us, and that you don't need to actually have the app for that. A couple of other things to keep in mind is when you're actually in a room, okay, one-on-one, there's also, oh, I'm sorry, one-on-one for the free app is unlimited time as well. So if you are just talking to your client, for example, and you want to walk through, let's say you want to walk through the contract, like you've done they've made an offer, you've done the 1 to 4, and before you send it off to the other side, you want to walk through it with your client, and you're quarantined and you can't really do that face to face. You can actually create a Zoom room, and one-on-one conversations and WebExes are unlimited. So you can actually be on there for an hour or more. That's not tied to the 40-minute discussion, but when you start bringing in other people into the room, that's when you have the 40-minute limit. So you can easily come into Zoom and just begin sharing with those. If I move my cursor down or up here, when it shows my screen, do you all see this little pop-up that comes up? It shows stop video, participants, etc.
No.
Okay. Yeah, let me, I'm gonna grab it here and see if I can show you what I'm talking about. Let's see. Here we go. So let me just grab that, come over here and put it into a slide so I can share it with you. And can you see this?
Yep, we can see it now.
Okay, so this bar that I'm showing you right here is actually the main control bar for Zoom once you're in a room. Okay, the default setting for this is to hide this bar whenever you're not using it. So it will either disappear, it'll show up down at the bottom of your screen, and you'll get to it by simply moving your cursor down at the bottom, or in some cases it'll show up top. Okay, depending on how your machine is particularly configured. All you need to do is either move your cursor all the way to the very top of your screen or all the way to the very bottom of your screen, and this text bar, this bar will come up. To mute your phone, if you're on a call and someone says, hey, would everybody mute their phone? You actually just click on the mute button and a little red line goes through it and it mutes you. Quite often, hosts of meetings will mute everybody on the call. So if you ever are on a call and everybody is muted and you want to ask a question, you start talking, you don't know how to be heard, it's probably because you've been muted by the host. You can go down to this bar, look at it. If there's a red line through the mute button here that I'm showing, you can just click on that and the red line will go away and the people on the call can hear you. Same with video. If you're using video and you don't want to be seen, you can actually stop the video and it will put just your name up there. And if you then want to talk or be seen or actually show something, you can come back in and click on the stop video. It'll start the video again. Participants, it looks like we've got 50+ participants on this call. That's pretty exciting. Thank you all for making time to join this. But this will also show you, if you click on the participants, who's on the call, and you can then over on the other side here, actually it changes, but there's a chat icon that will show up where you can actually start chatting with people on the side of a presentation. You can do an everybody chat or you can do a solo chat. So you can actually click on an individual and chat to them privately if you'd like as well. If you're ever on a presentation and someone asks you to share something, either share a document you're looking at or share your screen, again, if you're walking through a contract with a client and you get the client on a Zoom room, the one thing you'll want to do is share your screen. So you'll actually pull the contract up, click on share your screen, and it will actually show the client your screen and you can walk them through the contract from right there. You can pause the share, annotate the share, a great feature if you're actually going to redline the document. Let's say you've made the offer, sent the 1 to 4 over, the seller has sent it back, and you want to work with your client to come up with the adjustments on the contract. You can actually come in, share your screen, click on annotate, and it will let you actually write with your cursor on the page that you're actually working on. And so that's often helpful. Okay, those are the key buttons. There's a few other things out here under more. You can actually chat and the other things that I mentioned to you. But those are the key functionalities that you'll need. The biggest issue I find with people that are wanting to use these is they can't find them. Again, move your cursor to the very top or to the very bottom, and that pop-up screen will come up with those features. The other thing that happens is people want to record a meeting. If you're hosting the meeting, you have full control to record if you'd like. Okay. Obviously, keep in mind anybody that's on your WebEx or on the call. You know, depending on what city, county, state you're living in, you'll need to understand what the issues are, around recording if you're using it for contract review or communication. And they're different by different municipalities. So you should be up to speed on what recording capabilities are available to you. If everything is okay and recording is fine, you can actually just click on the record and it will actually start recording for you. If you're using somebody else's ID, okay, and this happens quite a bit, some market centers will have a Zoom account and they make that Zoom account available to agents in the center. If you're using the market center's account and you'll need assistance by whoever's setting the account up to tag you as a host, because in order to actually record, you must be the host on the call or have access to the host to be authorized to record a call, okay? A lot more features and functions that within the tutorial. You can actually schedule reoccurring meetings. If you want to have a call every Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock, you can set that up and it will actually send out the information to the participant or participants that you want to include on that with that meeting set up for that time each week. So those are some things that are pretty handy and pretty helpful with it. So Zoom is a really powerful tool. It's designed for conferencing and sharing and collaboration. And it's one of the reasons we use it here at Keller Williams across many of our different areas. So it's something to seriously consider. It is a best practice. It's one of the leaders in the industry. And it's something that you might want to consider availing yourself of if you're, especially over the coming weeks or months that we find ourselves in this quarantine situation, because a lot of our training and everything and large scale meetings will be hosted over Zoom. Okay. Real quick, last couple of things here. I have a document here that is very, very helpful around virtual training practices. They call it virtual training. It's really just virtual best practices. And these are tips and techniques, as Seth mentioned at the beginning of the call, around how to present yourself. And in a virtual situation, it's even more so, I think. I mean, people say you've got 5 seconds upon meeting somebody for a first impression to be made. When you're watching and listening to someone virtually, don't take anything for granted. I mean, people are really paying attention to what's going on, even more so. I was on a call earlier today where the consensus really was that people were actually getting more out of some of the training and some of the internal meetings, because the online process was requiring them to pay a little bit more attention than they normally would have done if they were sitting in the room. So it is something that is legit and something that we all need to be very aware of. These are some great topics. Smile. It's very common to get very serious about some of this and just forget that everybody there can see you. So smile and be communicative, be interesting. It's tempting for us to get very serious when we're on web calls, and so keep in mind at the other end of that camera, other end of that computer is a person, and that's something that we always need to remember. And these are relationships just as much online as they are any other way. But these are all pretty helpful, and I've found to be very helpful and supportive around establishing your own credibility, be intentional with your camera presence, focus on your posture, vary your voice. One of my big ones is slow down. I get going, and because I can't get immediate feedback from people either verbally or optically, I just start rambling. And so you'll want to oftentimes take a breath. One of our team members this morning did an Ignite course for the first time online, and he found himself every 2 or 3 minutes just stopping and saying, "Are there any questions?" So that's something you'll want to think about as well. So we'll make this available to everybody, and then we'll talk here just briefly about some options, and then we'll jump back over into Command and using it, and how to keep things going and keeping our business going virtually. So before I do that, are there any questions? Anybody got any questions or comments that you came to the meeting hoping to get out of some of this that we haven't covered thus far? If you do have anything to say, you need to unmute your phone, your mic, and you can just speak up.
Yeah, Jeff, first of all, sorry I'm late coming to the meeting, but Wes Griffin here in Fort Worth. More of a story than a question, but maybe kind of a public service announcement. We too had an Ignite class this morning, and I had set it up on a Zoom call. Everything was going great. And then I had a recruitment call on a Zoom call on the same account. And without thinking, I logged into my recruit call, ended the Ignite meeting, And
Yeah.
and Sarah O'Cana, our coach, came running into my office going, you know, what do I do now? So
Yeah.
you can't run two at once. So just FYI.
Yep, absolutely. No, that very good tip there. I did something similar recently myself, you know, and I tried to get be in two places at one time online, and it didn't quite work very well. So I think that, you know, Wes highlights a key component of a best practice, and that is, you know, slow down. You know, we all get on our computer and we just start banging away on there and clicking and just, you know, hoping that and sometimes it is the best practice to slow down, you know, and pay attention to what we're doing and be purposeful about our communication, not taking this technology for granted. That this is just another mechanism by which to communicate with people, you know, and so we've got to keep those things in mind. You know, especially, you know, in the mornings, if you're on calls at 8 o'clock in the morning, just know that people see you, you know, and you want to be aware of that, you know. And I don't think that that you have to get up and put a suit and tie on, but you know, we want to be aware of what's going on around us and how we're portraying ourselves. So, and especially when we're trying to do things, if you're uncomfortable with using the tools, okay, I would recommend that you be even slower, because as Wes just mentioned, it's real easy to mess something up and disconnect a bunch of people. That's not very difficult to do. So it's something to keep in mind as well. Thank you. Any other comments or experiences or questions anybody had? Okay, I'm going to jump over real quick and just show you a few other tools that we have available, and some things that we've actually talked about making available. And let's see, here we go. Okay, so we talked about the tutorial. I have a file that I've actually created to show a variety of different things that are available. So if, you know, we mentioned Zoom, and Zoom has a subscription piece as well as a basic free piece. If you want to then go in, drill in, and see what the differences are between the two, access the tutorials or a quick how-to video, we have that available in this file, and I'll make this available to everybody. If you don't want Zoom, or you feel like it's a lot more than you ever need or use, okay, you could stick with Zoom on a web browser and just access meetings that you're invited to, but you could then also explore some alternatives. KW.com is a Google domain, or a domain that's actually accessing the Google infrastructure for our Keller Williams email. So therefore, we all have access to Google products as well as a part of our KW.com domain. The two big ones there are Google Hangouts and Google Meet. Actually, Google Meet is a subset of Google Hangouts, but these are tools that come with your the KW.com account. If you're on a browser on Google or your KW.com email, up in the upper right-hand corner, there'll be a series of dots, and you can click on that and see all the applications that come with Google. Google Meet is actually a Zoom-like capability. It is an online collaborative conferencing tool. Okay, and it is a basic account that you can actually go in and have some conferencing with. It has some limitations itself. You could get a subscription account for it, and that will allow you to share files and things of that nature and do recording. Google Hangouts itself is a great tool that's free for everybody, and it has chat capability like instant messaging and texting, as well as online video conferencing, etc. So those are a couple things that come with Google and are very easy to use and accessible to you. In addition, I've got some comments in here on Facebook and also on Skype. I did not put FaceTime on here. You know, FaceTime is the Apple product for you know, actually chatting visually to each other. There are other tools out there available on the Google App Store and other places that if you want to try to use any of those, I would encourage you to think about that as well. So we'll make this file and the best practices file and the Zoom video tutorial URL available to everybody. We'll post it on the Google, the Facebook Go accountability page as a result of this meeting. So we'll put that information out there so everybody has access to it. Any questions on tools and how to get to using them and make the most of this so we can all be a little bit more productive? Okay, Seth, you want to jump into walking through some of the the other things we talked about as far as actually making sure our profiles are set up and how we actually make sure that we're getting the most out of the tools.
Yep, absolutely. And I will keep this brief, folks. I know we're right here at the end of our, actually a little bit past the end of our time. Crystal, I do want to answer first. You had asked what kind of camera. Logitech video cams, like Logitech webcams, work great. The problem is this: they're largely unavailable right now. They're sold out everywhere online. So not only are they really expensive or unavailable, also, Maria was absolutely right. Your phone camera, your computer camera, I'm using it on my Surface Pro right now with a ring light. This is, and it's going to be tough to see because it's blocking out, but it's a really cool piece that illuminates my face. I believe firmly that with video, lighting is more important than the quality of the camera. Absolutely. You can also have Zoom touch up your face so you look a little bit better and nicer. So let's dive in here real quickly. I do want to cover just a couple things and then go out into this world. So I'm here. This is the Zoom application. And up at the very top right is where you open up the settings. Now, before I want to do that, Wes, I'm glad that you shared that story before. You can set up with this little plus button, you can schedule additional meetings. And the nice thing is when you send out the invitation for that meeting in particular, it will, it brings people only into that meeting space. So if you have a personal room that you meet with people one-on-one, if you have something long-standing for a specific meeting with a bunch of people, you might want to separate those things. Now, before we talk about sharing those, I just want to look at two things. One, you guys might be wondering, how do you set up this fancy background? Well, let's go back. So if we click on our profile image, we click on settings. Here's all our settings, but virtual background is right here. Now, the reason I bring this up is because there are, I think, a lot of us that are concerned about our backgrounds. Maybe we're in our home, maybe we're in our bedroom, maybe we're in our car when we're joining the meeting, and we don't feel that it's a professional space. Well, this is a great way. I'm not ashamed of what's behind me, but if I were, I would still have this up because everywhere I go, I can have the exact same image behind me. Nobody has to know where I am or what I'm doing, which is wonderful. And it gives a little bit more personal feel that you're sitting face to face in the same room. You can also share a message. You can see above me, I've got branding. You can do all of that. This image behind me was created in Designs within Command. You could do that very quickly. It'd probably take you 30 seconds to go create a design, download it, and then upload it. You can add an image and you can add whatever image is on your computer, pop it in there. There's a couple that you can do by default, or you can do the one that you like. All right, let's talk about very quickly then, when you click My Profile, you can log in here. Now you can create a login for yourself, but even simpler, guys, just sign in with Google. We all have Google accounts, most of us at least. I think this is probably the best way to do it. It makes it really easy, and you don't have to remember a password or a login. That way, if you're jumping between your phone or your computer, or whatever device, you can log into your Google account. You can see all these settings here. Now, right here at the top, make sure you've got a profile image, because if you jump in a room without a photo, if you call in for some reason, you're logged into your account, you're going to want your face still there face to face. Even if you can't activate video, that profile image will show up instead. So that's a great piece to have. You can edit it, you can change, delete, whatever you like right there. I'm not going to get into all the rest of this. I do want to talk briefly about one more thing. So if we look back, so this is my personal meeting room right here. I can copy an invitation and send it out. I can start that meeting. In this case right here, I'd like to, so I'm going to edit the meeting invitation. You know what, because I'm in, here we go. Let's just go back to this window. When you click that and you're not in a Zoom meeting, you'll get a link like this. So if I copy that link, I can paste it into any window. And when somebody visits that, it'll pop into my personal meeting room. Now, I can't remember that series of numbers. I mean, I probably could if I really wanted to, and I don't want to. So what I recommend you do is find, if you have a custom domain, which a lot of us realtors do, create a link and just forward it over. So commandcentral.tech, this entire thing forwards over to a permanent Zoom room that we have for our office. But then if you have just your personal website, you can come in here and create a subdomain, Zoom. It'll be zoom dot whatever your domain name dot tech in this case, right? Zoom dot the Mills Group or zoom.kw.com, right? Something like that. You just then you paste it in right there. Once you complete this process, you simply send somebody, or you just tell them, in this case, I'll save this. And then you just tell somebody, go to zoom.commandcentral.tech or zoom.yourname.com, whatever it is. It makes it very simple for them to come meet you face to face. So thank you so much. I know we're a little bit over today, guys. We've got some really great training for you coming soon. We're going to be talking next week about virtual open houses. We've got training specifically on command and a whole bunch of different pieces. Before we go, I'd love to open it up one last time for questions or comments, or perhaps what you guys want to learn about in the future. Excellent. All right. Well, as always, you guys can drop us a line. Lean on your tech ambassadors at your market center in this time. Thank you all for being here today. Jeff, you got anything?
Just apologies for rambling too long. I lost track of time. So thanks, everybody. And I'll keep that under check next time. But I really appreciate everybody showing up. Hopefully this was beneficial, and let us know if there's other topics that you'd like us to focus on.
You can always send me an email if you have topics that y'all want to talk about. You can send it to christylee@kw.com.
Excellent. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.